Ladies and gentlemen, with those who are able, please rise for the entrance of our distinguished guest. Please remain standing for the national anthem sung by Specialist Katie Kramer and for the invocation by Chaplain Higgins.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through
Please pray with me as your tradition allows. Let us pray. Almighty and everlasting God, as the 200th Bridging Training begins their deployment as part of Operation Inherent Resolve, we are keenly aware of the multitude of feelings and emotions happening here today. For the service members, there is an excitement with a sense of adventure, but they are torn from the physical separation from their loved ones and are a bit anxious about their mission. Minister to them, gracious God, according to their needs and the needs of their families and loved ones. Give them the strength to do their mission and a spirit of cooperation and harmony in all they do. Grant them and their families your protection, your guidance, and your peace. Give Captain Francisco and First Sergeant Thorne the wisdom and discernment they need to lead and lead well. We're thankful for all the times that you are with us. Your presence goes with us and after us. And we just ask your blessings. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Higgins. Please be seated. And a special thank you to Specialist Kramer for your wonderful rendition of our national anthem. I would like to welcome you and thank each one of you for coming to show your support at this activation ceremony for the soldiers of the 200th Bridge Training Team. I am Lieutenant Colonel Lee J. Templeton, and I will be your Master of Ceremonies for this event. At this time, I would like to introduce our distinguished guest. On our stage today, we have with us the Governor and Commander-in-Chief of the South Dakota National Guard, Governor Dennis Daugaard. United States Senator Mike Rounds. United States Congresswoman, Representative Kristi Noem. Mayor of Pierre, the Honorable Steve Harding. The Adjutant General of the South Dakota National Guard, Major General Tim Reisch. Our senior enlisted leader, Command Sergeant Major James Holcomb. (196) MEB Commander, Colonel Patrick Party. (196) MEB Command Sergeant Major, Command Sergeant Major Todd Metler. (200) Bridge Training Team Commander, Captain Mark Francisco. (200th Bridge Training Team NCOIC, Sergeant First Class Matt Thorne. And our chaplain for today's ceremony, Chaplain Joel Higgins. Also in our audience today is the Assistant Adjutant General for the South Dakota Army National Guard, Brigadier General Kevin Grice. State Command Chief Warrant Officer, State Command Chief Howard Dressler. First Lady of the State of South Dakota, First Lady Linda Daugaard. Representing the employer support of the Guard and Reserve, Stephanie Garland. Family support volunteers, Cassie Deffenbaugh and Lori Schaff. I would also like to thank all the community and civic leaders, the local and state government officials, veterans, retirees, commanders, staff, service members, and their families, and all friends of the South Dakota National Guard attending today's ceremony. At this time, I would like to introduce our first speaker, the Adjutant General of the South Dakota National Guard, Major General Tim Reisch. The Adjutant General commands over 4,100 South Dakota Army and Air National Guardsmen and women with over 1,000 full-time federal and state employees. He is a member of the Governor Dennis Daugaard's cabinet, serving as the Secretary of the Military. He has been a member of the South Dakota National Guard for the past 38 years. Please help me welcome Major General Tim Reisch.
Governor Daugaard, Senator Rounds, Congresswoman Noem, Mayor Harding, members of the 200th, family members and friends. It's a great pleasure to give a few brief remarks here this morning on this historic occasion. The South Dakota National Guard has got a great legacy and history. It goes back to 1862 when we had our first muster in Yankton, which was Dakota Territory capital at that time. 100 years ago today, the South Dakota National Guard was completely mobilized, 100% mobilization. They were getting ready to go into World War I, where they fought continuously for 4.5 months till November 11th, 1918, when the armistice was called at the end of World War I. The South Dakota National Guard was there. Less than 20 years later, the beginning battles of World War II were already getting started. Eventually, the South Dakota National Guard had another total mobilization for World War II. But make no mistake about it, even though there are only 15 members of the South Dakota National Guard mobilizing here today, it's still a big deal to us. It's a very big deal to us. It's part of our history, and you're adding to our impressive legacy. Would Cassandra Deffenbaugh and Lori Schaaf please stand? These great volunteers have stepped forward to serve as family support leaders for the team during this deployment. And I know you're going to do a lot of work to help the team out and the family members that are back. Let's give them a round of applause. To all of the spouses and family members of this unit, please know that your contributions do not go unnoticed. The burdens of the family members left behind, in some sense, are even greater than those that are endured by the soldiers who deploy. So please know that if something comes up that you need help with, do not hesitate to call on either these two ladies or call my office directly, because we are here to help if you need help. Would all of the family members of the deploying soldiers please stand and be recognized? All family members. Thank you. Thank you for your contributions to our nation's defense. Finally, to the soldiers of the 200th Bridge Training Team, I want to tell you that as Adjutant General, I couldn't be prouder of this unit, of this team, as you get ready to go out the door. You've executed a very rigorous training schedule from the start, going down and learning how to assemble a bridge that we don't even have in our inventory. But that's the versatility of this team and of the National Guard, is that if we give it a mission, we're going to execute it to the best of our ability. So I'm very proud and very confident that you're going to be successful on this deployment. Stick together over there, use the buddy system to make sure that you're safe throughout the time. And we look forward to the day next year when we'll be back here welcoming you home. May God bless and protect this team as it departs. May He carefully watch over their spouses, children, and family members, and may God bless America. So, Mark, I forgot to do this at Monday's ceremony, so I got to make sure I do it now. But this is kind of customary. This is the state of South Dakota flag, Mark, and we want you to display it proudly somewhere in your headquarters. And when you look at this every day, think about all the people that are back here in South Dakota praying for your safe return. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Major General Tim Reisch, for your comments. Our next speaker joined the South Dakota Army National Guard in 1972, and his National Guard career continued for 34 years, retiring in 2006 as a full bird colonel. He currently serves as the Deputy Secretary for the South Dakota Department of the Military. Prior to that, he worked in the Governor's Office in Economic Development. In June of 2017, he was elected Mayor of Pierre. Please help me welcome the Mayor of Pierre, the Honorable Steve Harding.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this activation ceremony. We were talking before we came down here, and this is my first official duty as Mayor of Pierre. I got sworn in 3 weeks ago, and so I'm honored that this is my first duty. We're very proud of the South Dakota National Guard and the 200th Engineer Company and the soldiers that are about to deploy. We just can't say enough good things about the mission that they do. It wasn't that long ago when the city of Pierre was involved in a huge flood, not just for 1 hour or 1 day, but for 3 months. And when we were first notified that was going to happen, we kind of looked at each other and said, what next? How do we protect our homes and property and infrastructure and still provide water and electricity to the community? And we didn't know how to sandbag. We didn't know, what to do. Everyone from Governor and First Lady Daugaard on down to the whole state came to our aid. So we got to work. And I can tell you that when the 200th Engineer Company and the South Dakota National Guard pulled into town, you could about hear the sigh of relief that the Guard is here. We've got help. You helped us build our levees, you helped us protect our infrastructure, and then you stayed and you helped us protect our levees. You helped us keep animals off of them so there wasn't any breach. You helped us continue to provide protection for our community. And perhaps more importantly is that you assured us and you gave us hope that this is going to be okay. And your positive attitude and your hard work just helped the city of Pierre tremendously, as well as all of the others along the Missouri River. So I assure you that, as General Reisch said, your families, your friends that you're entrusting in our trust of our community, we're going to support them and we're going to help them so that you can do the mission and you can concentrate on your mission for not only our communities and our state and our country, but for the world. Your mission's important. We all know that you'll do an excellent job, as you always do, and we pray for your safety and your well-being on your deployment, and we look forward to seeing you upon your return. God bless.
Thank you, Mayor Harding, for your comments. Our next speaker served as a member of the South Dakota State Legislature from 2007 through 2010. She was elected as South Dakota's lone member of the U.S. House of Representatives in 2010 and served on the House Armed Services Committee. She was re-elected to Congress in 2012 and 2014 and currently serves as a member of the powerful House Ways and Means Committee. Please help me welcome U.S. Representative Kristi Noem.
Well, thank you so much. It's such an honor for me to be here. And I love sitting up here and listening to all the kiddos. For all those moms and dads that are worried they're being too noisy, don't worry about it one bit. They are our future. And in fact, what's happening today is going to make sure that they can continue to grow up in one of the greatest countries on earth, and that it's protected and safe. And that's something we should celebrate. Listen, I was driving here from Rapid City because I flew from, I live in the northeastern corner of the state, but I flew from DC to Rapid City to do some events, and so I haven't been home yet, and I drove here this morning from Rapid City, and while we were driving, I was sitting there trying to imagine how all of you feel today. Because I haven't served in the military, so I don't know what it's like to be activated and deployed. I haven't had to send a spouse to go to another country to serve and to help improve engineering, build bridges, be leaders. I haven't had to send one of my kids. Maybe I will someday, I don't know. So I don't really truly know how you feel. But I often want and think that we as people who have opportunities to do so need to communicate to you how you make us feel. You make us proud. My job in Washington, D.C. is to fund the military, to make sure you have the training and resources that you need. And in that role, I've been blessed to go to other countries and see our troops as they've served, and often many of them in very dangerous situations. And everywhere that I've gone, whether it was Afghanistan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, whether it was throughout Europe, everywhere I go, people tell me the South Dakota National Guard soldiers are the best. In fact, just a week or so ago, I got a couple of text messages from some of our National Guard soldiers that were in Romania serving, doing artillery exercises with other countries, and they said the South Dakota team got to shoot the first shot, that we were the ones leading the way there, even in leading exercises with other countries. You have a strong heritage of providing excellence wherever you go throughout the world. I've heard it from many different leaders who had no reason to tell me other than they've watched you and observed you, and they realize the excellence, the determination, the hard work, and the culture that we have here in South Dakota to do our job the very best. So when I think about how you make me feel proud. And I will do all that I can to give you whatever support that you need. That I will help your families while you're gone, recognizing that they are serving alongside of you. I will talk to your employers and make sure that they understand the sacrifices that you're needing and the help that you need. If you need encouragement, we'll be there for that as well. I'm so proud of you and grateful for the sacrifice that you're making, knowing that you continue to make this the greatest country on earth. And that's something that we need to continue to remind our future generations. This morning I was on the phone with my son Booker, who's 15. He's playing in his state baseball tournament. We were talking about his game that he was going to be playing. Actually, I think he's playing right now. But I said to him before I said goodbye and told him where I would be, and he said, Mom, make sure that you tell them that I said thank you. So thank you. And that's one thing that I hope you never forget, is how grateful we are for what you do and how proud we are of you. So we pray for you. We will keep you in our prayers, that the Lord will bless you and keep you, give you a peace that passes all understanding as you serve, and know that you are loved. God bless you. God bless the United States of America.
Thank you for your comments, Representative Noem. Our next speaker served as member of the South Dakota State Legislature from 1991 through 2000. In 2002, he was elected as the 31st governor of South Dakota and was elected to a second term as governor in 2006. During that time, he came to fully appreciate the value that the South Dakota National Guard has to the state. He was elected as United States Senator in 2014 and serves as a member of both the Senate Armed Services Committee and the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee. Please welcome United States Senator Mike Rounds.
Thank you. It was 14 years ago that one of the first deployments that I was honored to be a part of occurred right here for the 200th. It was in January, and the entire crew was heading overseas. They were going into Iraq. And I remembered it because at that time it was one of the first acts that I had as governor. And the first thing that I noticed when we came in and we started greeting the troops, these young men who were leaving, was that several of them had been playing with my kids' Nintendo just 2 weeks earlier at my house. And it dawns on you that when the Guard is activated, it affects all of our communities and everybody in them. And so the city of Pierre will not be the same, or Chamberlain or Lemon, because there will be people missing. The loved ones that are at home and trying to keep everything kind of put together, to you we say thank you for your sacrifice and thank you for your participation, because if it wasn't for your support, these troops wouldn't be able to do their job. We can't take away the hurt that you feel, the loneliness that you will have, or the sense of concern that you will have while your loved ones are deployed. But we can tell you that we appreciate what you do, and that we'll do whatever we can to help you while they're gone. To the employers that are out there that have a young man or a woman who's leaving, thanks for letting them participate in the Guard. This is critically important. And to the soldiers, well, that same year that I first became governor, I was in Sioux Falls, and I had just given a talk at a deployment ceremony, and I had said that you were the best, that you were well trained, that you were organized, you had as good of equipment as any militia or any military in the world, and that you would have the best shot at getting your mission done and getting home as any soldiers any place in the world. And when I got done and we were speaking with the troops afterwards, there was a young lady there. She was about 15 or 16 years old. And she came up to me and she said, "I really liked your speech today." I said, "Well, thank you." And she said, "But I think I know how you could make it better." And I said, "Well, how's that?" And she said, "Remember when you were talking about my dad and his team? You said they were the best?" I said, "Yes, they are. Well-trained, ready to go. They can compete with anybody." She said, "I know, but I think next time you should say they're the best of the best." She's right. You are the best of the best. We wish you Godspeed. We want you to get your mission done. We want you to honor the commitment that every member of the armed forces in America has ever made. And then we want you to safely return back here to this nation, to this state, and to this community who waits for your return. May God continue to bless you, your families, and this great country of ours. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Senator Rounds. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker. He serves as the 32nd governor of this great state and as the commander-in-chief for the South Dakota National Guard. He understands the value of the National Guard, having called hundreds to state active duty in response to a variety of emergencies throughout the state. We are very fortunate to have such a strong, supportive, and passionate leader. Please join me in providing a warm welcome to the governor of the great state of South Dakota and the commander-in-chief of the South Dakota National Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Governor Dennis Daugaard.
Oh, that's all right. You don't have to do that. Thank you. I think the audience would rather you play longer and I speak shorter, but I guess you're stuck now. Thank you very much for the privilege of speaking to you today, especially to the 15 of you who are being deployed today. I've said it probably 20 or 30 times, if I've said it once. The National Guard, a member of the National Guard, is, among all the people I meet, almost guaranteed to be the most competent, disciplined, dedicated, flexible, dependable person that you'll run into in life. Just an outstanding person. Whenever I learn that someone, they might be in their civilian gear, and then I find out they're a member of the National Guard, my estimation of them jumps. And so it is, I'm sure, with those of you of the 200 engineer company, the bridge training team. I was looking at some of the materials. I know even on our program there's a picture of some of the things that you'll do, but I've seen another picture where the team builds bridges, they attach it to a shore, a bunch of equipment will be driven onto these bridge sections, and then they'll drive the sections across the river or across the lake, and then they'll attach it to the shore. So they don't even make a whole bridge, they just make enough they need and then move it over to the other side. That's pretty impressive. But best wishes to the company as you travel overseas to the Middle East for 9 months. You're going to assemble, maintain, repair, and replace bridge sections, I'm told. I'm also told you'll be going to Fort Bliss, Texas for a while to get some extra training, maybe some special training on some of the equipment and bridge work that you'll be doing in the Middle East. And for your weeks there, I wish you well and hope things go well there. And then when you deploy, I know you'll do well. The 200th is really a very accomplished group. They won the Ishtar Award 2 years ago. And for the past 4 years in a row, they've been recognized as a superior unit. The general gives me a monthly report on how the military's doing and how our National Guard units are doing. And sometimes I am able to take the time and spend the time to understand what some awards mean. I'll go online and I'll understand better how difficult an award is to obtain and how many people compete for it and how many are awarded. And it wasn't more than a couple of months ago where General Reisch identified to me that over a dozen of our units had won a particular kind of award, and across the United States there were only a couple of other states where they even had 1 or 2 that won this award. And conversely, we had won in South Dakota the majority of all the awards in the nation for our units. And I'm sure there are some units around the nation that could try harder, could determine what are the elements that one must pursue to obtain a award, but they don't try. Or I'm sure there are other units that do understand and work hard to demonstrate the excellence that you have to demonstrate to win the award, but they just can't do it. They just don't have what it takes. But here in South Dakota, the National Guard not only understands what it takes to be a superior unit, not only works hard to demonstrate they have that ability, but they do it, and they achieve it, and they receive those awards. And that shows a dedication to excellence that some of the prior speakers mentioned. We do stand out. South Dakota National Guard soldiers do stand out when they're mixed in with other units overseas or here at home. So I want to say how proud I am also of you. Just as Congresswoman Noem said, we are proud of you. We are so proud of you. I also want to say thank you, as did the General, to the families, because when one of your dependable, committed, dedicated family members leaves with all those qualities, it leaves a hole at home. And a wife or a husband or a child or a brother or a grandparent or father or mother have to fill that hole as best they can until their family member comes home. And so to the family members back here who will do the work, fill that hole, thank you for your sacrifice as well. And the employers as well. Every one of the traditional National Guard soldiers is an employee somewhere. And that employer is losing one of his or her best employees for 9 months. And they're going to hold that job open and make do as best they can till their best employees get back. So to you employers in the crowd, thank you so much for your support to our National Guard soldiers as they respond to our nation's call. I was reading in the paper just recently, I'll close by talking about famine. In several parts of Africa right now, there's a very serious famine underway. The South Sudan is in famine. Yemen, parts of Yemen are in famine. Nigeria is experiencing famine. And when I think about history, and I think most of us think about history this way, over the centuries when there's been famine, it's generally because of a weather situation or some kind of a crop disease. And so there's a failure of crops, and consequently hunger and famine ensue. But today, none of those three countries are in famine because of the weather or because of a crop failure. They're in famine because of civil war and anarchy. And people can't plant or harvest crops. Many people have fled to areas where they are unfamiliar with the landscape. They're nomads in their own land. And those who would bring food aid are afraid to go in because there's no stability and no security for the food aid. And so many people will probably starve and die in those countries. And it reminds us how lucky we are to be Americans, where we have stability, safety, freedom, and such affluence and abundance here. And that is because of the freedoms that were won for us by our soldiers, airmen, naval, Marines, everyone who wore the soldiers or wore the uniform of our nation. And so I thank you for representing the courage and self-sacrifice that over the centuries has been represented by our armed services. I am so proud of you, as we all are. I'm so grateful to be an American, and so grateful that it is you who protect and defend those wonderful freedoms that we all enjoy. God bless you. Come home safely in 9 months, and God bless America.
Thank you, Governor Daugaard, for your comments and your support and confidence in our soldiers. Ladies and gentlemen, now I present to you the commander of the 200th Bridge Training Team, Captain Mark Francisco.
Governor Daugaard, Senator Rounds, Representative Noem, Mayor Harding, Major General Reisch, Sergeant Hookman, Colonel Party, Sergeant Mettler, and Chaplain Higgins. Retirees and fellow soldiers, thank you for your support in joining us on this bittersweet day. A special welcome and thank you to the soldiers, family members, and friends of the 200th Bridge Training Team. It is with great pleasure and honor to stand before you today as we begin our journey, which will impact many, both near and far. Growing up on a farm in the small rural town Estline, I learned the importance of being involved in one's community. To this day, I often hear the community needs you. While most of our communities do rely upon individuals to volunteer and keep local organizations running, I would challenge that. The individuals needs their community as much as the community needs the individuals. Over the past few weeks, I've been able to partake in multiple community celebrations for soldiers throughout South Dakota. A common theme I have observed is the tremendous outpouring of support from those communities. To all South Dakotans, we thank you. To the employers, we thank you. For without your support and sacrifice, our mission would be difficult, if not impossible. To date, you have already sacrificed a great deal in allowing us the time to train and become an even greater fighting force. To the families of the soldiers, we appreciate all you do. For some, it may be your first deployment. For others, it may be your second or third. Regardless, the roles you take on and are asked to do, you selflessly do. And the job you do is nothing short of remarkable. Thank you. As many of you are aware, the journey began over a year and a half ago when 15 individuals were selected to join the training team. Over the ensuing months, the individuals became a team. The soldiers of the 200th Bridge Training Team has been preparing both physically and mentally, spending weeks away from home in preparation for this day. As I stand before you, I can tell you, we are ready. We are ready for the challenges that will become before us, and we look forward to the day that we can reunite. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Captain Francisco. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, the 200th Bridge Training Team, NCOIC, Sergeant First Class Matt Dorn will take roll call and conduct a unit report.
As soldiers' names are called, they come to their feet and loudly sound off. After soldiers sound off, they will proceed to the front of the stage. Sergeant First Class Jeffrey Anderson. Here. Captain Alan James Armstrong.
Here, sir.
Staff Sergeant Brandon Deffenbaugh.
Oh, yeah.
Staff Sergeant Kelly Holzer.
Here, sir.
Sergeant Jordan Johnson.
Here, sir.
Specialist Adam Kappas.
Here, sir.
Specialist Trent Miller.
Here, sir.
Sergeant Dusty Mitchell.
Here, sir.
Specialist Jesse Parsons.
Here, sir.
Sergeant Brittany Rosberg.
Here, Sergeant.
Specialist Kelly Rowland.
Here, sir.
Staff Sergeant Mike Young.
Here, sir.
Cap Francisco. All soldiers are accounted for.
Oh,
Hunnell, you're not on the list. Staff Sergeant Dan Hunnell. I did that on purpose. Now they're all accounted for, sir.
Would the governor and all military members please remain standing for the issue of the order. Attention to orders. Permanent Order 2212-16. By authority of the Secretary of the Army, 200th Engineer Company and its unit members have been ordered to active duty in support of Operation Inherent Resolve. Effective date of order, 22 July 2017. By order of the Governor of South Dakota. Signed, Major General Timothy Reisch, South Dakota National Guard, the Adjutant General. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the soldiers of the 200th Bridge Training Team. Ladies and gentlemen, those who are able, please remain standing for the benediction by Chaplain Higgins.
I again invite you to pray with me. Gracious and loving God, as we leave this place, some to deploy, some to go back home, both destinations are where we can serve our nation and you in faith. Help us to remember your words. Fear not, I am always with you. Give peace to all that are impacted by this deployment today, knowing that all of us are cared for by your power and might. Lord, grant us your peace and mercy. Amen.
Please remain standing. Go ahead. For our Army song. Please remain standing as our distinguished guests depart the stage and begin going through the receiving line with the soldiers of the 200th Bridge Training Team. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you once again for coming here today on this historic occasion and for supporting the soldiers of the 200th Bridge Training Team. I would also like to thank the Patriot Guard Riders for their phenomenal support and service to the South Dakota National Guard. We appreciate all their tireless efforts presenting the flags at all our ceremonies and events. This concludes our ceremony. Please feel free to follow the distinguished guests through the receiving line. Drive home safely and have a great day.